Hey, what up, people? It's Kuqui here, and I want to start talking about comic books. The comic books I read, the comic books I finish reading, and all that. And yeah, I am gonna do it basically from. I have a website. I learned about a website that tells me the comic book reading order from the beginning of the characters, the origin stories and all that from the characters to get to know them and to get to know like Marvel from the beginning. And that's what I'm doing. I'm reading from the beginning, but I'm not the beginning isn't from the 1940s or all that. It's more modern. The stories are the origins of the characters, but they are more modern and they are fresh and they're not the 1940s, even though those would be cool to read. I feel like the ones written now are a little bit more fleshed out. And yeah, so I'm gonna start talking about and this website has it all listed in order. So the first order, the first comic book series that I had to read was Thor: Son of Asgard, and I read it, and it's a 12 issue part, but it's really like kind of divided. It's a whole story, but it's kind of divided in two parts. The first part is Thor, Sif, and what was his name, Balder. They're three friends. They are sent to do a task, to get different elements or stuff to create a sword that Odin wants to make, to give it to a warrior that's worthy of it. Thor in this issue is not really worthy yet of holding the hammer and having all these powers and all that. He's just a warrior with a sword, and he fights along his friends. They had to fight a dragon. They had to fight. Well, they didn't really have to fight, but they had to go to Icy Mountain in Jotunheim, and get a feather from a big eagle, and they had to go somewhere else. It was to a desert or something to grab another thing, and then they had to go to another place. There were four places they had to go to. This is kind of spoilerish, and this is not like exactly everything from the comic, because I don't remember everything from it, even though I kind of remember it, but I don't know how to put it. I just talk about what I remember at the moment I'm talking. So they get that. They get the elements, and at the end, Thor doesn't really find the last element because the other two friends had to go back to Asgard because it was under attack, and Thor didn't find the last element, which was water from a river, and he had to come back to Asgard, and he found that Asgard was still under attack, so he had to gather the troops. There you see like Odin uh, fighting this woman called Carnilla, is it? And they start fighting. He grabs the hammer. There's some epic scenes there. You see him fighting her, and it was awesome. And they managed to win the war and stuff. And Thor is like kind of they're all celebrating and stuff. And Carnilla's like, I'm not gonna leave here without taking something like a prize. And she throws an arrow and it goes through Thor and kills him. Literally kills him. I'm like, there's no way that like Thor is dead. I was like, there's no way. And there, I don't remember exactly the technicality of it, but I think Thor grabbed the sand from the river where he had to grab the water from, and that sand, if tears from a person that really cares about Thor fall like on that sand or something. It's something like that. It activates a healing effect, and that's exactly what the waters were known to heal. The whatever, like any wound or stuff. So that happened, and Thor got back to life because of the tears of Sif. If I remember correctly, they had sort of like a love relationship, Thor and Sif. Uh, and yeah, so that happens. Those are like the first 6 issues. Then the next 6 issues are like a continuation, but like I mean the looking for the elements and all that was those first 6 issues. Loki was also present. He was also like trying to do different trickery and stuff to impede some of the progress they were doing. And yeah, so the next 6 issues were more like in Asgard per se. Uh, Thor. I don't remember exactly all of it, but I know there was another girl that was in love with Thor, wanted Thor to love her or something, and she wanted to grab like a mirror that would make anyone who looks into the mirror fall in love with the one who's holding the mirror. But Sif learned about this and she was kind of jealous and stuff, and she wanted to even though Thor really liked Sif, she was like insecure and she wanted to grab that mirror for herself. But Loki was the one to tell her about the mirror and was like, "Oh, but if you grab that mirror, Thor is gonna fall in love with you and all that." So he used Sif to grab the mirror, and as Sif was going to look for the mirror, I mean, going to show Thor the mirror, the girl that liked Thor, which was kind of a rival to Sif, um, just like smacked her or something and grabbed the mirror, and then she made Thor look into it and all that. Um, and it was all a plan from Loki. They were both the girl that wanted Thor to fall in love uh with her was also a sorceress. So it's kind of a weird thing. Thor ends up falling in love with that girl for a little bit of time, but then the curse breaks or something. I don't remember exactly. And then some giants come and take Sif. And when those giants come in and take Sif, it's not this isn't exactly the chronological order of everything I'm saying, but I mean it's chronologically correct, but I'm jumping parts. Uh some giants come and take uh Sif, and Thor like loves Sif, and he realized that when the curse was broken from the other girl, and he was like, Sif, I gotta go look for Sif. And the father, Odin, wow, I have something in my teeth. Odin is like, you stay here and I'll like go for Sif. And Thor didn't really like that plan, so he enters the trophy room where Mjolnir is at. And he's so mad and all that he lifts Mjolnir, and that's like the first time you see Thor grabbing Mjolnir, and I was like, damn, that's awesome. And he comes out with Mjolnir, and everybody sees it, and he's like, like I'm gonna be the one to rescue Sif and whatnot. So he goes to like a castle, and like there was some giants guarding the castle and stuff, and he breaks the bridge like holding the castle, and then he like hammers the giants. He like beats them up and beats a whole lot of them up, and you see how powerful Thor is with Mjolnir, until he goes and finds Sif, and Sif was at the hands of Hela. And Hela is a badass. I loved every single time she was like talking and stuff or was shown. Um Thor like throws at one point the hammer to Hela and Hela stops it like in the movie. But this was like at the first issues of Thor, and she stops the hammer and you're like, what? And yeah. So Hela's known to kill anything she like touches because she's like the goddess of death and whatever. So she touches something and it dies basically. And she was gonna do that with Thor and all that, but then she was like, she understood that Thor's actions were noble and was like, I wanna, and she says something like, I wanna hurt Odin, but if he knows that like you, I killed you doing a noble act, then it wouldn't hurt him as much as if you were just mindless and all that and just died doing something ridiculous and mindless. Like if that, not ridiculous and mindless, but you know, if you die doing something noble, everybody's gonna remember you for your noble act, even though it hurts when you die. But if you don't, if you just die when you weren't supposed to die or whatever, like that, her theory was like that could hurt more, like when there's nothing, like you didn't do an act. I don't know. I don't know if you guys understand me, like what I'm saying. But yeah, the comic book series, Thor lived. He was with Sif at the end, and I think they kissed and everything was great. So at the end of the day, it was kind of like a love story type thing, but it was cool. Um, my comic review system goes from amazingly heroic to somewhat heroic to villainous to horrifically villainous. And this comic, I would put it in the heroic uh, uh, standard. And then the essentiality of it, like there's a system for that. I put it very essential, somewhat essential, and not essential. I think every like origin story, when something that we know a character for happens, I think it's very essential. So I think this comic is very essential because it's like the first time we see Thor grab the hammer and all that. So it's kind of cool to see that, and you see a lot of characters that you would know if you've seen Thor or different Thor things, like Odin, Frigga, who's her mother, his mother, Loki. You see Jotunheim, which Jotunheim, you know Loki from Jotunheim. Uh, I think you see the ice giant. You see Sif, and all that. All that is cool. So I think that's very essential because it's like the introduction to Asgard too. The comic begins talking basically about Asgard and what where things are and all that. So yeah, it's cool. And yeah, if you guys like me basically talking about different comics I read and all that, share, like, subscribe. If you guys want, have a great night. God bless. Peace.